It's like anything. For somebody, somebody who's got a passion for something, usually when you see them work.
Is somebody on your team in charge of like handling the people?
Man, you're there to help people. So,
Yeah.
And if you're not, you're in the wrong business.
And this guy really does not care about the aesthetics of the things that you care about. That is a fact. Hey everybody, welcome back to The Blueprint. I'm Brandon Adams with Smoking Gun. I'm here with Jeremy Powell, one of my favorite human beings on the planet. He is the fire chief in Greenville, Texas, aka G-Town. Let's see what he got. Bring that heat. Jeremy Ronald Powell.
Something like that, yep.
Thank you so much.
Most of it right.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on today. What is the middle name?
Dane.
Dane?
Great Dane.
Known you for 30 years and I didn't know your middle name was Dane. Is that why you've always got Great Danes?
I think so. Yeah, that's probably a good reason. Good as any.
Yeah. How many Great Danes have you had?
4.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You want to talk about them? Names?
Yeah, the first one was Fred. Good old Fred.
Fred the Dane.
Smokey the Bandit.
Yeah.
I always had a Fred. They had Matrix. That's the one that everybody loved to talk about because he always stood. He was tall enough to stand over the fence. You saw his head over the fence.
That was when you guys lived down on
Park Street.
Park Street. Yeah.
So everybody talks about Matrix. And then we had Linus, and then we had Caesar.
And Caesar. Nice. E2 Brute.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. That's a good one.
Well, that's cool. So Jeremy, you are a fire chief. I talked about that earlier, and you corrected me on calling yourself chief firefighter.
Yep. It's a little weird.
And describe the difference in why we wouldn't call you chief firefighter versus fire chief.
Well, I don't know. It's like I said, I think the chief firefighter sounds like you're the ultimate fireman of the universe or something, which I'm certainly not.
Are you not that?
Maybe in my own mind, legend in my own mind.
When I walk around Greenville and people talk about you, they say stuff about you being the ultimate firefighter.
They say stuff about me, but I don't know that they say that latter part, maybe.
Didn't you get in like a firefighter competition for being so good at firefighter stuff?
No, they needed, they picked me up off the street for that one. So,
but you were in it.
We were, yeah. Yeah, we did that 5 or 6 years, Firefighter Combat Challenge.
Yeah, which kind of takes you up the tier of firefighters.
I guess so.
That's like the elite of the elite, right?
I'm kind of a big deal.
Yeah, people talk about it.
Yeah.
I have seen pictures of you on magazine covers. I've seen you on billboards. It's been really a great journey to know you since you were so young in your teens, to see you have exploded on the scene of popularity and turned into the fireman that you are.
There you go.
Do you have a favorite song?
A favorite song? Man, that's okay. Way to put me out there.
Call me a fireman. That's my name.
Yeah, I do love me some George.
Yeah.
Do I have a favorite karaoke song? Maybe you should rephrase that question.
Do you have a favorite karaoke song?
The Fireman.
You
hands down.
I say this
and that really is true.
I know. I say this because every time that we go somewhere, and you're really actually good at singing, which I was ready to poke a stick at you. I could not wait. And then you got up there and kind of blew it out of the water. And I was like,
you're welcome.
Yeah, you did your thing. Yeah. So where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
Well, I'm originally from Ladonia, Texas, and moved to Greenville in the middle school.
Mm-hmm.
So for the largest majority of my life, I've been in Greenville.
Mm-hmm.
Greenville.
Most of your family's in Ladonia?
Let's say Fannin County, Ladonia, Dodge City, Bottom area. Yep.
Okay. And so brothers, sisters?
Man, I'm the only child, and it really shows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you made it down to G-Town. So you got down in, you said, the 8th grade? Middle school?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did you play any sports in middle school or anything like that?
I played baseball.
What'd you play?
Catcher.
Yeah. You don't want to elaborate on any of these? You're just jumping out.
Give me those. No, I mean,
you want to talk about being the star of the show? Or?
I wasn't really that good.
Really?
Yeah. I love playing baseball. I was that kid that I loved playing, and I always thought that was going to be what I did when I became an adult, but that's not the way it worked out.
Isn't that crazy how you have a dream? Well, yeah. Isn't that crazy how every kid has this dream of like being somebody based upon the passion that they have. And at some point in their life, like reality just is a cold slap to the face.
High school is that for me. Yeah.
Did you play in high school?
Yeah. I played my freshman, and I don't know if I played my sophomore year or not. I can't remember if I did. I think I actually did.
Mm-hmm.
I never made off JV.
Yeah. Did you? And then you switched sports, right?
I did. Started hanging out at the golf course a little bit, kind of by accident, and so I picked that up pretty quick. Actually enjoyed it. Kind of wish I'd have started earlier. I love it.
You didn't start. Wait, I didn't know this. You didn't start playing until you were a junior?
That's right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I never touched a golf club till then.
Wow. I did not know that. I mean, honestly, like from you and I have played together forever and being very competitive in that part of it as well.
Yep.
I think I know you know where I'm going with this eventually, but to be quite honest, I'm going to give you like some real. That's pretty impressive that you had started at 16 and got as good as you did so quickly.
Well, there's a little story behind that too, I think.
Hit me.
Well, just, once I started playing, I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it a lot more than I did going to school. So I got a lot of practice in.
Okay. So you skipped school a lot, or you got the pass? You got on the golf team and they allowed that?
Well, I got on the golf team, but they didn't necessarily allow it. So
was it always Wright Park?
No. Actually, we would load up and go to other golf courses. Sometimes just because we didn't want to get busted in town playing golf.
Who's we?
Some of our other friends that we know. I won't throw them on their bus, but they know
they are grown men.
Yeah.
They're not getting.
Yeah. Well, one had the last name of Naira and the other one was Stovall. So we'll leave it at that. How's that?
Nice. So you guys just pick up and take a threesome somewhere and go play?
Yeah, we go play during the day, and it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Till one day I had a teacher that said, that's enough. And everybody else kind of got off scot-free, but not Powell.
What happened to you?
I pretty much had to finish my tenure of high school at New Horizons, which is alternative learning.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah. Skipped too many days.
Huh. Yep. How many days is too many days?
I couldn't tell you at this point, but it was enough.
But I can tell you that. Way more than what you know.
Ron White. I don't know how many minutes it was going to take me to get me out of that bar, but there was enough.
I did not know that. So your senior year, you spent it. They kicked you out mid.
Yeah, they kicked me out after the first semester and told me I was welcome back, but I was going to have to go. It'd be next year before I graduated. I'm not interested in that.
Yeah. So you GED'd it.
No, actually, you get a real diploma going there. It's the same difference. So it's a funny story too, because my wife also, who
sweet woman.
Yep, good lady. Yep. Bad judge of character, but she's a nurse practitioner. Got her doctorate in nursing, a professor for the University of Baylor, and works in the NICU at Children's. But she is also a proud graduate of Greenville New Horizons Alternative Learning. So,
dude, you guys need to put banners on the wall for what New Horizon graduates are. Right. You two are a couple and have to be the top tier of the graduation class.
I told her and I've said this for way too long, I need to just do it. I want to start a scholarship for that program, specifically for that program.
That's really cool.
For those that come out of there and do something, that show the potential, show the initiative. I think that'd be a great place to have a scholarship.
That's cool. What have you done to put that in action?
Nothing other than me talk about it.
Well, everyone is going to, and G-Town's watching this.
That's right. Yep.
So everyone's going to be, let's hold his feet to the fire and let's get this thing going over here. So, that'd be cool, Jeremy. I really appreciate that. And one thing I do know about you, honestly, like as much as you and I like to cut up, you are there every time someone needs you, and you got the biggest heart in the world, and you'd do anything for anybody. So I'll get that out of the way because I'm gonna poke a stick at him quite often in this interview. So just want to let y'all know, like, he is literally one of the best human beings I've ever been around. Silly as hell, but one of the best human beings I've ever been around. So
half of that was accurate. So
all of that was accurate. All of that was accurate. Okay, so graduated New Horizons, and then after that, you thought, I'm gonna go do what?
Well, so during that same time frame, I guess my senior year in high school, broke, didn't have any money, and really didn't have a lot of. I just didn't have any money, so I was trying to figure out something to do, and me and a buddy of mine decided that let's go volunteer somewhere as a firefighter. That sounds pretty fun. Mm-hmm. Let's try it out. And so I don't know if you remember Sam Yostin, right? Mm-hmm. So it was me and him, and we went out, started volunteering at Cash Volunteer Fire Department. And so I'm pretty sure that was my entire senior year, if not the second half. And man, just loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Loved the excitement of it. It was one of those things that just, it's kind of an adrenaline rush, staying out of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So
when you volunteer for something, are you getting paid for that, or is it 100%?
100% volunteer. There's some places that do.
Uh-huh.
There's some will pay you based on the calls that you make. But when we were doing it, you didn't get paid anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just kind of, if you wanted to be there, you could be there.
So was there training you had to go through, or was it just like on-job training, or was it like, hey, shadow me for a little bit while I'm getting into this? Like, what is the, like, if I go to volunteer for cash tomorrow, am I putting out fires on Monday, or is it like?
Well, I'm certainly not going to speak to how they do it today.
I
can tell you how we did it then, and it was all on the job, and I can remember the first house fire that I went to. You see the apparatus that people wear, where they breathe through, that's they're called self-contained breathing apparatus, and
scuba,
kind of.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to have a guy put one on for me. I had no idea what I was doing, but I wasn't going to just sit out there and not go in there and help.
Yeah,
because I was so excited about it.
Right.
And so anyway, I will never forget them putting that on me and basically just shoving me in there and saying, get to work.
Mm-hmm.
And today, that probably doesn't happen.
Yeah,
probably doesn't happen today. But
what is get to work? Like, if someone says, hey, you're going to this house fire, get to work means what? Like spray water on that? That means like go in there and see if there's anybody. That means like hit me with like someone's early on the job, their expectations.
Well, so all of those are tasks that have to be performed. So you may be the person that's on the hose line that is, putting the fire out with the water.
Yeah.
You may be the person that has a pike pole or an axe, and you're cutting holes in the walls trying to find where the fire extension is, see if it's gotten in the wall, see if it's in the attic. You're pulling ceiling trying to get it down.
Mm-hmm.
All those are different jobs. Or like you said, you may be the person that's going in there doing a primary search, the first person doing a search, looking to see if somebody else. Mm-hmm. All those tasks are being done a lot of times simultaneously.
Do you have to have a certain degree of experience before you take on one of those roles?
So for a paid department, yes. You have to go through an academy. Mm-hmm. You have to be certified through the state to be a firefighter.
Right.
Doesn't make you an expert by any means, but it gives you the basic skills to go in there with somebody with some more experience and perform those tasks.
So you get on the job and it's like, let's say I'm in your department or whatever.
Yep.
And I come in and I'm new and I've gone through the academy. I'm getting training in a little bit of all these areas.
Yep.
You'd say that, right?
Yep.
Do I come out as a specialized? Do I come out as a general? Do I come out like what? Can I pick and choose what I want to do? Or is it like there's one cookie cutter mold fits everybody, and then what you specialize, you do in the field?
So that's really a great question. The answer is no. You don't come out as an expert, and you can go in any really direction that you want to be quite honest. So when you go to the fire academy for a structural firefighter, just like you just said, they give you the basic skills. They don't give you, you're not going to have the experience, but you're going to have a basic set of skills so that you can start a career and you're not completely new to it. Mm-hmm. And then once you get on the job, depending on what the needs are of your department, then you can venture off into specialties like technical rescue, rope rescue, confined space rescue, trench rescue, structural collapse. Mm-hmm. Those are all specialties that require specific training just for them.
Mm-hmm. And so once somebody gets in their job, they start training, and I know there's levels to this. Can you explain the levels, and I'll jump into the other question in a minute.
Levels to what specifically? So
like if I come in, I'm a apprentice, or I'm like a level 1, or I'm
so you're going to be a firefighter.
Okay.
And that varies too, depending on the department. But like for Greenville, we have firefighters, and then you go to engineer, which that's the person who's responsible for driving the apparatus, driving and pumping the water, or driving the ladder truck. That's another set of skills that you have to kind of have because it's a special piece of equipment. Mm-hmm. And then past the engineer, you have the captain, and the captain is, one of your more experienced firefighters. They've started to rise through the ranks. So they've been a firefighter, they've been an engineer, now they're a captain, and they're over the station on that particular shift. Mm-hmm. So they're kind of the station supervisor. Mm-hmm. And for our particular department, we have 4 stations. So on a given shift, we're going to have 4 captains, one for each station. And then over all those stations on that particular shift is a battalion chief. He's kind of the shift supervisor.
Okay.
And then once you get past that, you get in the office, you get into administration.
Mm-hmm.
And inside there, we have the fire marshal's office, deputy chief, and then myself.
So until you get into the office, are you still all playing roles of putting out fires, or is it?
For the most part, except for the battalion chief, that really is a supervisory role. When you get to a house fire, those guys need to always have the big picture in mind. And if you're inside the house working, or if you're at a big wreck scene and you're over there performing an extrication, you can't see the big picture. You're focused in on that one particular area, right?
Right.
And so somebody needs to be they need to see the big picture all the time. So that's what the battalion chief really does as well.
So when you guys go to a house fire or something like that, and as you start, I'm walking in the door as a new firefighter.
Yep.
Am I going to be assigned certain roles? Am I going to give certain jobs and certain things that are going to go to that house fire to a more experienced person? Or am I going to say, hey, you're the newbie, hold that hose over there, or whatever, or go put a snipe in a bag or something? You know what I mean?
No, that's a good question too. Really, there are certain, I guess a good way to explain it is when somebody comes to work for us, there's a task book that we have. And part of that is, look, there's all kinds of different fire academies out there. And yes, they've all met the state standard at some point, but there are better fire academies than some are better than others, I guess I should say. And so what we've done over the years is we have a task book, and it's all the kind of the basic tasks. We want to make sure your competency level is there. And so from the first time you get on the job, you've got basically a year to prove yourself. And during that time, you go through that task book, and you get with your driver and your captain, and you're checking off those things. Hey, we've done this, we've done that. And then as we get more comfortable with that person, then we start letting them do a little bit more on their own. We give them more tasks to do. But at the very beginning, it's pretty basic. You're not going to be doing a whole lot. But
it's like go unwind that hose or go pick that up and just watch and basically learn as you watch us do this.
Yeah. But you're still required to go, like you're going to be on a hose line.
Yeah.
If you're the first engine in, you're going to be on the hose line. Now you're going to be right behind the captain. Captain's going to be helping you, or captain may put you out front, but he's going to be telling you everything to do.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that first year there's a lot to kind of, I guess, try to understand that first year, and the maps. Those guys have to guys and gals have to memorize all the streets. That's a lot. Especially most of our applicants are not from Greenville.
Do you think one of our friend group would be good to drive in Greenville?
One of our friend group?
Yeah.
Well, it depends what our friend group is. If you're talking about Milo, that's terrible.
He's terrible.
He's
right?
awful. Yeah.
Yeah. He's probably not. You think he has the streets memorized at least?
Yeah, I think so.
You think he's got those down? Does he do the front or the back of the truck?
So he's one of our captains.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. He's
congratulations, Milo.
Yeah.
We're really proud of you for what you do.
I wish I had about 50 more of you.
Oh, man, why does this dude look like he's 30 years old still? Like, gain some weight, sucker. Like, get a belly on you. This is getting sick.
He's an overachiever.
Man, settle down. Find somewhere to sit down.
Oh, love me some Craig for sure.
Man, he is the best.
Yep.
So as you guys start leveling up in there, is it a goal for these guys to continue to move up the ladder? Or is it basically up to them to decide if they want to progress or if they are happy with where they're at?
Yeah, another great question. A lot of people think that, you should always be achieving to go straight to the top. And I don't agree with that. There's nothing wrong with we call that a tailboard fireman, the bottom level fireman. There's nothing wrong with being a tailboard fireman, in my opinion, your entire career. If that's what you love to do, then it's like anything. For somebody, somebody who's got a passion for something, usually when you see them work.
Yeah.
And they're just good at it. And they enjoy doing it. And to have somebody at that level that enjoys what they do, has a passion for it, I think that's awesome. Because they're really the first contact with those probationary guys when they come in. They're not their peers, but they are.
Yeah.
They're that buffer zone between them and the
next level.
And so if you've got somebody that's a lifetime tailboard fireman that that's really good at what they do and has a passion for the job. They just don't want to promote. And those guys are invaluable.
What is the lifetime expectancy of someone coming in as a firefighter and staying a firefighter?
And that really, today, that's just dependent on how well you take care of yourself or how well your body stands up to time. But, I've seen guys in their mid-60s that they're just as good a fireman as somebody in their 30s.
And I guess what I mean is, like, are there cycles, to people coming in? So let's say, much like the military, I come in and I could do life in the military.
Yeah.
Probably going to do 4 years. Maybe I do 8.
Yeah.
But generally, most people cycle through the military in 4 years.
Yeah. You don't see that in the fire service. You don't see it in our fire department, really. It is a career for most everyone.
Okay.
You have the exceptions, but most everybody that comes to work for us, and I think in general in the fire service, especially if you last the first 5 years. If you get past 2 or 3 years, really probably the first 2 or 3 years. Because sometimes people just get in there and they go, this is not for me. They make a couple of bad calls and it affects them and they're like, I'm out.
Can't live with this.
What I want to do. Yeah. But once you get past that, I think everybody pretty much stays for the career. Now, there's also the exception with our schedules that allows people to usually have second jobs or start a business sometimes. And sometimes those businesses get so successful financially, they just leave. They're like, man, I'm done. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, because you guys do mainly 24 on, 24 off, or what, 24, 48?
So we used to do 24, 48. That was, when I was on shift, that was pretty much what I always did. Well, that is exactly what I almost did, or I did. You've seen a shift in the fire service now to a 48-96. So they work 2 days on, then they have 4 days off. And everybody really seems to like that.
So is it that you're there all day, sleep there, eat there, wake up, run your whole day, and you're doing what in a 48?
Well, so the days really aren't a lot different. You're going to pretty much have the same cycles. A morning usually consists of going in, checking out the equipment when you're coming on shift. That usually takes a couple of hours to go through radio checks, equipment checks, get all your gear together. And then after that, it really varies. We've got things that we do with the public. We'll do public education. We have our own continuing education training we have to do. And then outside of the continuing education, we may be jumping off into something different. We're wanting to focus more on, technical rescue. And so we'll have themed training that we're doing, not just continuing education. So it just varies a lot, but that's going to make up most of your day. And then sprinkled in there are the calls. We average about 6,000 calls a year, which is over twice as many that we ran when I was on shift. So it's a different animal for those guys now. And
there's more firefighters now though too, right?
Not really. There's a few more, but our overall structure is the same. We've still got the same 4 stations. It's not a lot different really, but it is a lot busier.
How many fire trucks we got, more or less? We
staff the same number. Now we've got a couple of, we still have the same number of fire trucks too. It's a lot. They're a lot.
What's the life expectancy? What's the life expectancy of a fire truck?
Anywhere from 10 to 15 years. We try to get closer to that 15. Usually it's about 12, quite honestly. We just approved one at council the other night, and they're quite expensive. It was 1.27.
Wow.
1.17. I'm sorry.
Is that a 4-banger in there, or is that a?
It's a little bit bigger than
bigger
that.
than 4-banger.
Bigger, yeah.
What kind of gas mileage those bad boys
Terrible.
Get? Like 1, 2, 5,
probably
7.
1. Yeah, gas mileage is really not something we talk about too much. That's not something that comes up in the discussion.
Like my truck. It's how many miles a gallon it gets.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. So these guys are going through, they're jumping into this. You said they stay for a long time.
Yeah. Elaborating on that a little bit more. So our retirement system is really set up for you to work 20 years. That's pretty much at a minimum. So it's 20 and 50. So you have to work at least a minimum of 20 years and then be 50 years old before you can draw a full retirement.
Okay.
Now there's some incentives built in there to work a little bit extra. So a lot of guys will work till they're around 55 and they just, it helps the plan a little bit because you're paying in more money as you get older, so they want you to stick around a bit longer. But really after that, it just kind of depends on how long you've been there. If you've been there, 30 plus years and you're 55, there's just not a ton of reasons to stick around unless you're still that passionate about staying. Yeah. Like from a money standpoint, there's not. I'll take that back too. I guess that's, with insurance these days being expensive as it is, that's a huge motivation to stay because you're still going to be on the city's insurance where when you retire, you're not. And so that's going to keep some guys around maybe a couple of more years than they probably would otherwise. And that being a taxing thing on your body too, right? I'm sure you guys are carrying a lot of things that, come with the job. Yeah, a lot of guys, you can tell usually when somebody's getting ready to retire because they start fixing everything that they haven't been fixing for the last 10 years. Yeah. All the nagging stuff. They want to get that done. A couple of knee surgeries. That's right. A couple shoulder surgeries. Disc replacement. That's right. Yeah. You can see it coming. So. And you're like, hey, notice you've been, it's not like you've been taking time off, but it's like, notice you've been fixing the wheels in this bad boy. Yep, for sure. Which is smart. I mean, I don't blame them, no. Yeah. A lot of burns come from guys, or you guys are... knock on wood, man. Been real fortunate throughout my career, and really just one real close call that unfortunately it happened when I was in administration. And so, anytime that happens, that's heavy on your shoulders. You feel like you're responsible. So, but it was just a close call, and, everybody's fine today, at least physically. Yeah. It's always a tough situation. So, yeah, that was I won't forget that day. But that's the only time in 25 years. So just keep it that way. And so, I've always, I've always heard that the danger is fire, but I also heard one time that the danger is more smoke. Is that accurate, or am I watching too many TV shows? No. I mean, the smoke really is what's going to kill you, most likely, the carbon monoxide. But, we wear those breathing apparatus. If you look at a lot of firefighter deaths, breathing apparatus gets knocked off or they run out of air. And that's what actually gets them before they're burned. That's interesting. I didn't even think about it being carbon monoxide. I was thinking of it being soot or the heat in the smoke, and that can get you too. That'll happen though when you're talking about the heat. There's something that's called flashover. And basically, the room just completely engulfs in flames. I saw the movie. We'll talk about it. Yeah, we can talk about that movie. Yeah. It's a joke, but it's kind of funny. But when that happens, basically, you're just engulfed in flames, and in your gear, even though your gear is made to fight fire, it's not made to walk around in fire. And so it will break down. And then when that stuff starts breaking down, then you lose the integrity of those systems. And then at that point, you can sear your lungs. But man, at that point, it's going to be over. So you're saying when that flash does happen, it can melt like a tube or something, even though it's sheathed or something. And once it melts a hole, the fire will get down inside of that and then basically trail it down into your lungs or... And you're talking about one or two breaths, and that's it. You've done it. Yeah. So it burns you from the inside out, basically. Yeah. But that's part of our training. We look for the signs of that possibly happening. We call it reading the smoke, basically. What does that mean? Well, it's hard to really kind of explain without seeing some video. But if we see some lazy white lighter smoke coming out of a house, that's not quite as scary for us. But if you see some really heavily charged billowing smoke coming out of a house, that means somewhere in there's a fire it's getting after it. And it's just waiting for the right amount of heat and the right amount of air, oxygen, fuel mixture to just basically light off. So, okay, so when you said lazy, I thought that was an interesting way because I pictured that as soon as you said that. Is that like a wispy dancing type of light white smoke, almost off the end of a cigarette type of a thing? Yeah. Okay. And then if you ever saw the video, you'd be able to perfectly relate what I'm talking about. But you'll get you'll get some of those that are really going. They're getting after it, and those are the ones you got to be careful with. So.
You may hear some noises banging around. We have firefighters training outside.
Yeah,
right now,
it sounded like somebody just fell off the roof. So
we're
I'm
training
off duty right now.
I'm actually got a squadron that I'm building right now with these guys. So
nice. Very nice.
So and then you said something that's really billowing. That's like speed of smoke coming out of something really, really fast.
Yep.
And it's almost like it's escaping from something else and it's pushing to another area.
Yep, that's exactly what it is. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
and a darker color, I'm guessing, because it's got some type of chemical or some type of.
Yep. There's a lot more fire, and it's incomplete combustion. And so, but as the fire grows inside, it's getting hotter. More stuff is on fire. It's creating more heat, and that's when you're going to see that ugly smoke. I mean, it's intimidating looking. So. But there's ways to mitigate that, and that's part of the training that we do to, cool down the environment. We'll ventilate the area, try to push some smoke out, introduce some cooler air with positive and vertical ventilation, and then go in there with your hose and start cooling some stuff off.
So cold air is better than warm air when it comes to a flash.
Oh yeah, because everything has a flash point. So every chemical out there, everything in here has a flash point. And so it gets to a certain temperature and it's going to
ignite,
spontaneously combust. And so that's kind of what I'm talking about.
Have you ever seen one of these in person?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's pretty common. Yeah. Wow. And I've never been inside a house when it happens. Cause that's part of what we do is when we see those conditions or we anticipate those conditions being there, we're going to make sure we ventilate and try to protect ourselves. We're trying to go home.
Yeah,
we'll go home there at the end of the day. So,
yeah.
But it's not uncommon.
When the movie Flashback.
Yeah,
I noticed there was a lot of growling in the walls, almost like there was an animal in there.
Yeah,
and it was talking to them, and they could tell where it was about to happen.
That was a standard poodle.
It was a poodle.
It was a standard poodle. Yeah. That's what that wasn't fire.
Yeah, I could tell that was going to be something. I was going to ask you about the animal noises.
Yeah. No, I've never heard any animal noises unless there was a dog in there, which happens. But no, that movie, it's kind of comical, which I get it. When you're in that movie or you're watching that movie and you see the fire everywhere and the guys are just running around. Honestly, in reality, in a real fire, you can't see anything. You could put your hand right here and not see anything.
Oh.
If it's the fire's really going. The smoke is just that thick. And so you might see a glow, a faint glow somewhere.
Wow, okay.
But that might be the extent of it.
But you're not seeing fire crawl across the ceiling like that?
Rarely, yeah. No.
Well, all right. Well, it just shattered a lot of dreams I had of like seeing some cool stuff. But.
I mean, now, when a flashover happens, that's basically what you do. You're getting really good combustion. So yeah, you can see, especially if you're outside, you can see it because all the smoke has gone from smoke to fire. But you're not inside.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. The smoke turns to fire.
Yeah, that's the flash. Yeah, the smoke goes from being smoke to fire.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not a good place to be.
Man, you can see how that covers the entire room just instantly if it flashes like that. You can see where the smoke is.
Yeah, so imagine being in there. Like I said, you can't see anything, and you're down on the floor because that's the coolest spot. So the smoke starts up here, it starts dropping.
Yeah.
Goes all the way to the floor.
Yeah.
At this point, if you're in those situations, you're going to be on the floor because it's really hot.
Yeah.
But if you're listening to your senses, your ears are going to be telling you it's hot, and you need to start thinking about either getting some water on the fire or getting out.
Or get low.
Or both, yeah. And so, but then when it does flash, all that smoke that's gone all the way to the floor just flashes.
Man, that's crazy.
Bad place to be.
That's crazy. So, from field fires to house fires to building fires, you ever done building fires? Like, how many stories are we talking about? I know Greenville doesn't have a whole lot of super tall ones.
No, we've had a few though. We had, what was the old furniture? I can't remember. It was the name of the place. It was on Sale Street. They made church pews. Anyway, 4-story building, I think it was. That was probably the biggest building fire that I've been on as far as commercial. A couple of strip center fires, but nothing real.
A 4-story woodworking building.
Yeah, I mean, it was completely defensive. It's one of those where you pretty much stand on the outside and squirt water. We went in a couple of times, but never could get to the seat of the fire.
Mm-hmm.
So, you're knocking some fire down, but you're not putting the fire out.
Tell me about that term. You said the seed of the fire. Is that where it started, or is that where the bulk of it is?
That's where the bulk of it is. Yeah,
Okay.
normally could be both.
Okay.
But as the fire progresses, you may have two different, areas
Mm-hmm.
that have the bulk of the fire. But normally the seed of the fire is generally where it started.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah. So as you go into these, and I watch a lot of crime shows or whatever, not a whole lot, but my wife does, so I'm in
Sure.
there, right?
I understand that.
So I see these guys going in. Do you guys ever go in and try to define what caused the fire afterwards? Is that you? Who is that?
So that is done through our fire marshal's office. But yes, that is our department. That's our part of our responsibility
Mm-hmm.
is to investigate every fire.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some are so obvious that we don't need the fire marshal to come out there and do it.
Mm-hmm. Tell me what that is. What's an obvious one?
Like a stovetop fire.
Okay. How would you know it's obviously a stovetop fire?
If you went in there and somebody was cooking bacon and they left the stovetop on and you just had a fire in the frying pan,
Mm-hmm.
but it smoked up the whole place,
Okay.
technically we still are responsible to investigate that.
So I'm just saying this for clarification. It's not a fire that completely engulfs the whole place. It leaves it in ashes and it's just a couple of charred sticks in there. You see something that's been put out and you can see just portions of the room that have been burnt, and you go to that portion to find that there's a stove there and it has black coming out of the front of the stove. You know
Yep.
It's a stove fire.
Yep. Maybe the only place where there's any actual fire damage. There may be smoke damage throughout the whole building,
Right.
but you can see where the fire damage was and, make a little V pattern that comes up from that particular area.
So depending on what the remains are depends on what you're able to tell by it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I guess when there's a lot of damage, it's a lot harder to figure it out, obviously. I mean,
Right.
You've seen a house that's been completely destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to figure out what happened.
Mm-hmm. Is there a way
Challenge.
that you can tell that from like the way the kindling or the way the burnt is, or where the ashes really pile up from like the most heat being in a certain area, like really torched it? Or
So, yes, depending on the degree of the burn. So
Mhm.
a lot of times where the most extensive burning is
Mhm.
going to be where the point
Right.
of origin was.
mm-hmm.
Now, that can vary too if there were accelerants used.
Mm-hmm.
So you may have accelerant used throughout the building. They may
Mhm.
pour gas in 4 or 5 different places.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's always not just one spot. And then what you'll look at too, you get from an engineering standpoint, you'll look at, let's say the person that was there said, well, I was in my living room and I wasn't in there at the time, but I think that's where it started. And we can kind of see that. Yeah,
Mhm.
I think you're probably right. I'm not going to argue that point. Well, tell me about your living room. What's
Mhm.
going on in there? Do you have a space heater in there? Do you have an electrical strip that had 5 different things plugged into it,
Mhm.
completely overloaded? And so, and a lot of times, oh yeah, I had that.
Answers no every
And it's,
time.
yeah, no.
Mhm.
No, a lot of times they're pretty honest about it.
Idiots.
Well, it's over there and, I had it all plugged in over there. So we'll go look for that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can send that off to an engineer and they can say, yep, looks like this thing shorted out.
Not your fault. Insurance paying for
So,
nothing.
No, not necessarily. Still an accident. But what the insurance won't pay for is if they think it was intentionally set.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah, it doesn't. They don't like it, but just because you're dumb doesn't mean they don't pay.
So
It's
let's
like having a wreck, just
Yeah.
because it's your fault in a
Yeah.
motor vehicle accident doesn't mean they're not going to pay.
right. So when but your premium's going to go up like crazy.
That's right.
Let's say you're in a house. You're in the house. You come to a house fire. It's been struck by lightning.
Mm-hmm.
Hits something, causes the fire down low. It's burning in the attic.
Mm-hmm.
The people in the house see the electric go out. They leave it out. The grease, spill some grease on something. It starts to burn at the fireplace. The whole thing starts to burn down. Somebody's got gas cans in the garage.
Yep.
That thing starts to tear off. Now you've got this chain reaction of different things are going on. What is the cause of the fire in the house?
Well, I mean, it's kind of like any investigation. You talk to the occupants and,
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you can't say, a lot of times you can't say for certain,
Mm-hmm.
but it makes a lot of sense that this is what happened
Mm-hmm.
based on just what you just said. Hey, was it lightning that day? Don't tell me lightning caused it if there wasn't a storm that day,
Right. Mhm.
And so, I mean, you just have to investigate and
Mm-hmm.
it's not a perfect science for sure.
Mhm. I guess what I'm getting at is like how easy is when you're saying it's not a perfect science. Do you guys feel like you get it right 90% of the time? Do you guys feel like, oh man, it's a crapshoot? Like we're just looking for telltale signs? Because depending on how charged something is, depends on what clues I have.
Well, I think there's a pretty high percentage there.
Okay.
A lot of it just is talking to people and, being a judge of, and people when they're lying, it's almost, a lot of times it's easy to figure out if somebody's trying to hide something from you. It just is when you're talking to somebody. And so when you get that feeling, that's when you start digging into other things. But I think it's probably higher than you would expect. I would say probably around 90%.
So when I'm in, the reason I'm asking these questions, I'm in marketing, right? And so in marketing, I'm looking for mining data.
Yeah.
And data proves everything, right? It's not opinion. It's not, I like this, I like that. Like it is about understanding what data truly tells you what it is.
Yeah.
Are there chemical reactions or things that you can do to test a scene to find out like there's a chemical reaction at a certain temperature, it melts everything and that only comes from X, or there's a certain combination of something that happens when lightning hits, wood, it causes, some type of charring at a certain area and we can always tell that that's what happens. Or wires were fried at the door because the electricity that came through, it couldn't handle it. So it just fried everything. So we know what it was. Is there things like, and I'm guessing at all those things, I have no idea if that even happens, but.
Yeah, they're kind of going back to what we talked about. And a lot of it really helps the earlier we can get that fire out and conserve that evidence. It's a much easier job for the fire marshal, or the investigator, insurance investigator. They're going to investigate it too a lot of times. So the more evidence that's saved and the less stuff that it's just completely destroyed, the easier it is to paint that picture. But once again, sometimes they just go undetermined. A great example is was at the First Baptist Church in Dallas that burned, the one that's been downtown forever and just completely destroyed 3 or 4 months ago. Left it undetermined. And if you look at the pictures, you can understand why. I mean, it just completely gutted that place.
Completely down.
Yeah. So, there's just, sometimes you just don't know.
So, yeah, those things getting too out of control. So you need some things left so you can follow some clues. And if not, you got to use intuition or things that have happened in the past of your experiences to try to boil it all down.
Yeah. And sometimes, sometimes people, just catch people, they did it,
tell the story for you.
They tell the story for you. Yeah. So
that's really cool. As you go to start thinking about like, what's the story and how to navigate that scene of like, because there's a lot of stuff that wraps up in it, like insurance and business, and the person next to you is affected by this. And, at the end of the day, dollars and cents roll out of what these decisions are that are made and finding out who's responsible for X, Y, Z. So you guys have more on your plate than going and squirting a water hose on something all the time. And so that's kind of what I was getting at with how detailed are these things? What spills out of it? What's more than that? Yeah. And, even to the fact of something like people dropping off. Firefighters are the fire station is the one place where people drop babies off.
Yep.
Have you had that experience before?
Personally, no, but yes, we have had them at the station. We didn't. When I was on shift, we really didn't. We weren't recognized as that kind of facility. That was a program that got started after I was in the office, and but we've had a handful that have just stopped at the stations and knocked on the door.
And you guys, from that point, are responsible for like taking the kid, calling Child Protective Services, or what's the process in that?
What you just said.
Well, I'm good at this. I got this thing down.
No, it's not rocket science. It's pretty much common sense.
I don't know. It's brain science.
But it's nice to have that as opposed to dropping some baby off in a dumpster or in a parking lot and just driving off. And so that does, for those people that do that, it does show a little bit of responsibility that they, or at least they care a little bit. So, but it does happen.
I noticed that there's a certain camaraderie between police officers and firefighters and military and people that step into those different roles. But your responsibility to be a part of the Brotherhood, no matter where they are, you guys swarm to each other, never having met each other before.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to me because you understand each other's plight.
Yeah. Well, people use Brotherhood a lot, and I think it is a lot. I don't have a brother, but when I look at people with brothers who have that dynamic, it feels a lot like that, especially when you have brothers that, you fight a lot, you're on each other's case a lot, but at the end of the day, if push comes to shove, that guy's going to be right behind you to help you.
Mm-hmm.
And 90% of the time, you're dogging him about something. You're fired up with him, and but at the end of the day, if something happens, that person's going to be there for you.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say brotherhood, it's not all roses. We're not always sitting around thinking, hey, or telling each other how much we love each other and how much we want to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, we're dogging on each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot like our friendship. It's just like, how bad can we cut the guy? But at the end of the day,
I love you guys.
That's right. And so, but yeah, those guys, most of them are going to be there for you.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, no, that's a really cool thing because I see like you said, hey, there was a fire in so and so. What is the protocol when someone has a fire in another city?
Mm-hmm.
That becomes a certain level that they need to start drafting people. When they start drafting people, what is the domino effect of that?
Well, for us, this is one thing that's unique compared to the Metroplex. What's unique about Greenville is we're on an island. If you look around Greenville, there's how many other paid departments are out there?
Mm-hmm.
That's within, Rockwall is going to be the next closest in Commerce.
Mm-hmm.
So at least 20 minutes, maybe 30. And we rely on the volunteers too. We'll call them, but you never know exactly what you're going to get with those guys. And listen, I was a volunteer, so I'm not bashing them at all.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is you just never know exactly what you're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the unique things about working in a place like Greenville is we are on an island. Whereas if we were in Dallas for the Metroplex, let's say we have a really big fire and we go to 3 alarms.
Tell me, emphasize, what is that?
So basically, an alarm is, your first response alarm is going to be a predetermined set of apparatus. Let's just, for Greenville's sake, that's going to be 3 engines, a ladder truck, and a battalion chief. Well, the only problem with that in Greenville, that's it. That's the first, second, third, and fourth alarm.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you go to the Metroplex, they're going to have different alarm boxes set up depending on what kind of call it is. If they've got their first alarm response, and then let's say it's bigger than they thought, they're going to go maybe to a second alarm or even a third alarm.
Mm-hmm.
And each one of those, you get a predetermined resource and amount of resources. It may be from your department or it may be from your neighboring department. And that neighboring department, even if they're not coming to your fire, they may be backfilling for you in your station, or at least kind of going halfway and maybe staging in case you get another call. You're not completely left out. Your citizens aren't completely left out in the wind.
Mm-hmm.
And a fire in Greenville, we don't. It's just it. That's it. We send everybody. And there's no reserve after that.
You guys have nobody to come help. You couldn't call Rockwall and say, "We've got 5-alarm chili down here. We need you down here."
No, we could. We certainly could.
Yeah.
But we don't have it to the ability that you would in the Metroplex, where they're right there beside you, and they're going to be there within just a few minutes. They're going to be at a minimum 20 or 30 minutes away.
Mm-hmm.
So
tell me what that means. It doesn't sound too terrible, but I guess in fire terms, 30 minutes is the difference between, charcoal on the ground and what?
It depends on the fire, but it very well could be. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it just depends. So luckily we've been pretty fortunate that we get the job done with the resources we have.
Mm-hmm.
I think where you would really see it, if you had a large industrial warehouse that you were, with a big heavy fuel load, a lot of stuff in there that's burning, and you just don't have enough resources, that 30 minutes would be an eternity.
Right.
Now, one of the things that protect us there is the fire code. So all these big industrial warehouses now all have sprinkler systems in them.
Mm-hmm.
And so those sprinkler systems are going to be working for us as well.
Right.
So, that helps to keep those fires from getting way out of control.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes sprinkler systems go down. Sometimes they're under repair. What happens during that time frame if something bad were to happen? It's a possibility. Not likely, but so that's probably the easiest example. Just your basic house fire, not going to make that much difference. The resources we have. But what if we have 2 or 3 house fires right in a row?
Right.
Then that's a whole different ballgame.
Right.
It doesn't happen. Every once in a while we'll have simultaneous fires, house fires. But it's not common.
You ever seen Gangs of New York?
I have.
You saw what happened in New York in that bad boy?
I do. Yeah. Oh yeah. The very end of it. Yeah.
Whole place burnt down.
Yeah. I love that movie.
And the firefighters are running around like,
back then there were gangs. The firefighters were part of the gangs.
Were they really?
They were territory and yeah. When you watch that movie, kind of look for that.
Okay.
Look for that. I guess that aspect. You can see it if you knew, but they were very territorial based back then.
So they were like, "Those aren't my houses. I'm not worried about it."
That's exactly right.
And so when those burnt down, they were like, "I hope y'all's burned down."
Yeah. No, it's pretty interesting. Yeah.
So that being said, in Greenville, do you guys have like the white rabbits or anything like that based upon that, or the blue?
Not so much. Yeah.
Oh.
No, but we have kind of got over the last few years, the guys, we kind of asked them to own their stations a little bit. And so like the station, Fire Station 3 out by the sports park, which is close to the high school.
Yeah.
They've kind of adopted the Lion. Station 4's adopted the L3 airplane concept. So they, just to have an identity for each station. But I want them to do it. That's not mine. That's your station. I want you to own that.
So when you guys go to put softball teams and stuff together too, you guys come as your mascots, or what are they doing?
No, it's pretty much all. It's just the fire department.
Oh, just the inside.
We hadn't got that deep into it yet.
Well, I'm telling y'all, G-Town, y'all got to bring that smoke on them. Take them suckers down. You got to do it. When you start talking about the amount of fires you've seen, the amount of things you've learned, the time that people are on the job.
Yep.
You're going to see people at their best and you're going to see people at their worst.
Oh, yeah.
You're seeing somebody who is so thankful you put out that fire in a minute, and then you're going to see them where they've lost everything. At what point do you guys ever switch to consoling, or is there someone generally there to help that out? Do you guys play a part in the emotional side of that at all when it comes to that? Or
so what we usually try to do is to get them connected to the Red Cross or the Salvation Army. If it's been a loss where they're going to, a heavy loss, I should say, and they have the resources to help them out, to get them some shelter for the next week or so, and get them some clothes, just get on their feet. So
does
that
Red
starts
Cross
pretty much immediately. If we see a need, that kind of need, once everything's kind of calmed down and we've got the majority of the fire knocked down, that call is gonna go out pretty quick.
So is someone coming to the scene with you guys? Because these people are there and are they just sitting there watching their life melt down in front of you at points?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. A lot of them were sleeping 10 minutes before we get there.
Yeah.
Rudely awakened by heat or smoke alarm going off or whatever.
They run outside and it just melts down.
Not in their underwear.
Is somebody on your team in charge of like handling the people?
No, not really. That'd be part of what the battalion chief would do. He'd establish that need. He'd see it, and then he would call into our dispatch and say, "Hey, we've got a need out here. Can you get a hold of Red Cross, Salvation Army, and have them come out?"
Okay, so they're local in Greenville, and there would be somebody that would run out there, or is this you got to run from Dallas and it's a 30 half hour?
It's usually, it's usually going to take at least probably 30, 45 minutes to get somebody out there.
And it's a hotline type deal.
Oh yeah, it's a 24-hour contact. Yeah, it's not like they'll call us right back if they don't answer.
Yeah. And so you guys got to get somebody out there. And so I just wondered, like, you're watching these people.
Yep.
You understand what's going through because you see it more than anybody.
Oh, yeah.
I just don't know if there's any training that goes into that with your guys, or do y'all say steer clear of civilians, do your job?
Oh, no. Oh, man, you're there to help people. So, and if you're not, you're in your own business.
Yeah. So how do you handle that? People are running to you and trying to get you to do things and whatever, and you're like, oh, man, I got a job to do. I'm trying to do what I can, or blah, blah. Do you explain? Do you stop? Do you allow them to, like?
That doesn't happen just a whole lot, but the only time people are going to run to you is if there's a pet or another person in the house, and we're specifically talking about house fires here.
Mm-hmm.
That's about the only time somebody's going to run up to you and get in your business when you're working.
Yeah.
Especially at the early onset. Now, as things slow down and people are kind of walking around, things have calmed down, people, they might approach you then. Mm-hmm. But at that point, you're kind of in the cleanup phase. And so it's not imperative that you're going to a certain spot, I guess, or a certain job.
Let me get you over here to the ambulance, have them check you out. Let's see what's going on. And then kind of pass it over to them while you guys finish up doing what you're doing.
If somebody's, now that is a particular circumstance where we will pull somebody off the actual firefighting. If we get there and there's not an ambulance there and we have somebody that's injured, that's somebody's job.
An EMT.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Somebody's going to be with that person until the medics get there.
Mm-hmm.
That's not something you just walk past.
And so, being the friends that we are, I've seen you after some really hard ones. And I know how it's affected you because it affected me seeing you like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that all the guys that go through this have seen some severe trauma, seen the remnants of life and everything else.
Yeah.
And so, one, how do you handle?
Well, I think that a lot of that depends on which pal you're talking to. The older or the younger pal, I just kind of shut everything out. Didn't really talk about it, and that's the way I preferred it. I would rather when we go play golf than, man, I don't want to talk about none of that mess. I just want to leave it there. And that really same thing happened at home. I didn't want to talk about it when I got home. And so the problem with that is you kind of get into a rut where everything's that way. You don't want to talk about anything. You should be left alone a lot of times, especially at home. And so you build up these walls. You hear a lot in relationships that you build up walls and you wall everything off, and so you can't. It's hard to relate to people. In I guess in an affectionate kind of way. It's hard to be vulnerable. It's probably the best word to use right there.
Right.
And that's tough on your family because they see it. They see, you're acting strange and you're super quiet. Me and my wife, she always should say, we'll go to dinner, and you didn't say 3 words for like 2 weeks. I don't really have anything good to say. But it's like, that's not her fault.
Yeah.
She wants to talk to her husband, you know? So, but I'm not I'm not on the truck anymore. And so, I'm not that person anymore. I'll talk, and I'm also not in the truck. So I don't know if I've changed or it's just that I'm not exposed to that stuff as much anymore. Now I have to deal in the office. I have to deal with personnel, some of the guys that struggle, and that hurts me. That's probably what hurts me now. It's not the citizens that I see hurt because I don't see those as much. But when one of our guys is hurting, and I feel like I can to help them, and they built up those walls, and you can't reach them.
You try to connect with them and say, "Man, I've been there. This blah blah blah."
Yeah, and I know what they're feeling because I've been there, and some you get to, and some, I had a pastor tell me it's just some hadn't hit bottom yet. And until they hit bottom, they're not going to break down those walls. So I've seen both, but it's tough when you can't.
When it comes to things like the military or the police, like I see a lot of charities that are set up to help guys like that. You guys go through a ton of trauma as well, and I don't see anything that is set up for you guys.
It's out there, and it's becoming more prevalent for sure.
Okay.
Over the last, I would say over the last 5 years, I've seen it. I've seen that area grow a lot. But still, it's kind of like going to the gym. It's kind of like going to church. the hardest part is stepping foot through the door, getting that person to really just be just a touch vulnerable where, hey, man, I want to give it a shot. I'm going to give it an honest shot.
Right.
And then usually when those people do, it's like the floodgates open.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
Years of pent up.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Have you ever gone to any of that stuff?
Oh, yeah. I didn't realize that, I really didn't realize. It kind of goes back to what I was saying a while ago. To me, going to dinner and not saying anything, it's like, man, I just don't want to talk. I don't want to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't necessarily healthy. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't healthy for me. It certainly wasn't healthy for my relationship and my family.
Mm-hmm.
And so, so for sure.
Mm-hmm. When it comes to those guys and the traumas they face, statistically, firefighters have a higher divorce rate than any of the others in the American standard. So
yeah, and you're right. You're not wrong. And I'm sure that's probably what it is. It's not the fact that you're apart for those 2 days or 1 day. It's more that you build up those walls and you really forget how to have relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So it's tough. I say it all the time.
So what you're saying is most of the time people compartmentalize stuff, hold it to themselves.
Yep.
Do the man thing.
Yep.
Hold it in, and when you're really not, and then you're not able to really connect with people on the other side.
Yep.
And it causes a little bit of strife, and people feel like it's an us thing versus I've got to deal with something thing.
And you'll see it in the firehouse too. You'll see it. The guys will see changes in each other, and that's probably one of the first places you're going to see somebody try to reach out.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. And do they ever break through with each other, or is this? I'm sure that statistically you got some yeses, but for the most part, do you guys open up with each other more, or do you think it's more of a I got to keep this thing going?
Man, I think in the past I would say no, nobody opens up, but with what I was just talking about, with mental health being more of a focal point of our job, and hopefully the more we talk about it, the more that the guys realize it's okay to talk and realize that, nobody's going to shame you.
Yeah.
But when we started, it was a little bit different. You were probably considered weak.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if that's true. I never felt that way. I used to say this to Renee, and she loves to throw this at me, is I used to say, it's part of your job. If you can't handle it, you should have done, you need to do something different. That was my go-to. My wife, she works in the NICU. So she gets her own, and women want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I made that comment one time, and and I didn't think anything when I said it, because that's the way I felt about my struggles.
Right.
And that's kind of the way I felt. Just that's how you got to handle it. Hey, if you can't do it, you better find something else to do where you can handle it.
Right.
And that didn't go over well.
Yeah. She put that back on you several times over.
Yeah.
She's like, I'll put that in the back pocket.
Yeah.
Bring it back out right when I need it.
She didn't put it in the back pocket. She pretty much hit me up. She wrote it on a shovel and hit me with it several times. So
I love Nene.
Which it was well deserved. And I really, it's crazy. I didn't think anything about it when I said it.
Yeah.
But you look back on it now, when you look, I see things a little different now. And so I was like, wow, that was so stupid.
Isn't it crazy how age, and I don't know if it's just time and experience that causes us guys to really change who we were.
Yeah.
Because we still got a lot of a-hole in us, all the time. You know what I mean? And and that's okay too. But at the end of the day, like, there's things that we recognize as like, oh man, that one probably is some crap that I had to deal with right there. Or whatever.
Yeah, I'm much more receptive now to, I guess, maybe some constructive criticism.
Mm-hmm.
When somebody says something, hey, you're acting like an idiot. I may tend to listen to it. We're back there. I'm like, if you don't like it, move on. Move on.
Yeah.
Goes back to that. I love the analogy of building up walls.
Mm-hmm.
If you got a wall built up around you, then nobody can get to you. Nobody can say anything to you that's going to really affect you until something that comes along and just crushes all those walls, and then pretty vulnerable.
You're there in your underwear.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
A lot of guys hadn't been there.
Yeah.
So
You think people have to hit bottom before, like you said, that the pastor told you?
yeah.
You think you have to hit bottom before sometimes you recognize that?
I think sometimes, there's always an exception to rules. So I'm not going to say that fits for everybody. But yeah, I think especially older guys that, when you've been doing things your way for a long time and it takes a blunt object to knock some sense into you.
Yeah. So as you've gotten through the stages, like as you started volunteer, you worked your way all the way up through this thing. And quite frankly, I was surprised you've done what you've done, but I'm real proud of you. I am real proud of you.
I had a teacher tell me once, not to go way off the base here, but she was one of the high school teachers. I saw her at the hospital, and I'd probably been a fireman in Greenville for 5 or 6 years then. She goes, "Hey, Jeremy, how are you?" And I said, "Oh, I'm good." And she goes, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm a fireman in Greenville. Been here a while now." She goes, "Really?" "Yeah, I love it." She goes, "I didn't see that." I was like, "Well, what do you think I was going to be doing?" She goes, "Well, honestly, I thought you'd be in prison." I was like, "Wow, okay, that's cool."
I never thought you'd be in prison.
Yeah, me neither.
But honestly, Jeremy, like I cannot tell you how proud I am of you to see what you've done, how you've taken on what you've taken on, and the role that you play just in life and in general for looking out for others and your friends. Like second to none, homie. Honestly, really, really am proud of you.
I appreciate it.
I saw you brought some objects over here on the table. Let's first talk about the helmet for a second.
All right.
What is this and what is this on the top?
So, that's one of our standard fire helmets. That's not mine. That's from my famous photo shoot that I went and grabbed one of the firefighter helmets. Mine's white. I don't know.
Why is yours white?
It's just too clean, Nobody wants a clean fire helmet. That looks stupid.
Okay.
So, it should be all melted but it's not. But that's as close as I could find.
Is that an eagle on top right there?
Yeah, it's an eagle on top, and normally you'll have a front there that goes with a little leather front, and basically it's kind of a shield that has your number, has your department name on there, have your name on there, and your rank. So it'll go right where I guess the mouth of that eagle would be.
Is that kind of, and not to be morbid, is that kind of like dog tags?
I don't know. No, not really. That's how you kind of, if you've got all your stuff on, if you got that big mask on, that's kind of how I can tell who you are. Yeah. Yeah. You'll have your number up there and your name.
So that eagle's mouth is supposed to hold that badge. I was wondering why. I didn't know if it was doing something. It was
that's what the beak is. It's
supposed to open a beer with it, or
yeah. Well, you can do that too. I wouldn't do it on duty though.
Yeah.
Chiefs kind of frown on that.
Yeah. And this other thing on the other side, this mountain boot.
Yeah.
What is this here for?
Well, that's not a mountain boot, Brandon. That's obviously, to everybody else out there, that's obvious golf shoes. It may be time. I know you're getting a little older now, and that's fine. But it may be time for some glasses because everybody in the audience obviously sees golf shoes.
So. So just for everybody that I want y'all to understand this joke. Jeremy Powell is one of a kind, and this guy really does not care about the aesthetics of the things that you care about. That is a fact. He has the same golf irons he's had since he was 18 years old. He has the same driver, and it literally just broke on him a month ago since he was 18 years old or younger, maybe. It's a Cleveland launcher.
Yeah, I think it was probably, I looked it up one time, and I think it was probably around 20 or 21 is actually the old, when I got it. So, do the math on that. It's probably around.
It's 100 now.
26, yes, 100. Exactly. So that Greenville math coming out. But it's been around the block. So,
and Jeremy can play. Don't let him lie to you. This cat can play. He has been the leader in the clubhouse for a lot of years. And matter of fact, people even offered to pay money to sponsor him to go play professionally.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, one of our biggest business leaders.
In the industry in Greenville.
In the industry, yeah. Wanted me to go play and
wanted to sponsor you to do that.
Yep. And man, I said, I've got a passion for the fire service. I'm just, I think I'm going to just let me see how it goes, and then I'll get back to you.
So what was it like to give up on that dream so early?
Oh, man, I love the fire service so much. And man, we played on our Saturday game, so that was enough.
Well, I just figured, the reason that you gave up, the dream of going pro was because they wouldn't let you wear rock climbing boots out there as golf shoes.
Well, once again, I would argue that those are golf shoes. So
because they have traction on the bottom.
Well, I mean, look at where golf is today. You know,
Yeah.
you can say that.
Let's
Where
look
are we
at
at? We got soft spikes.
Right.
I mean, what? Listen, I was a trendsetter, industry leader.
Yeah. That looks like that.
Those are the shoes.
Those are them.
No, those are the shoes.
And I thought for sure it was because you were just getting outdoorsy on me, or I didn't know if you had just like were playing a joke. But the more I noticed you off in the weeds looking for your golf ball and climbing up the hills, I thought, you know what? Maybe he's got something going with these shoes.
Yeah.
These rock climbers over here.
It's coming from a guy who said I was good at golf, and he says, "The only time he sees me is when I'm out looking for Bigfoot." So I don't know.
We called you Bigfoot.
I'm getting mixed signals over here.
Well, I'll just say this: you were so good at playing golf that people did offer to. That's a true statement.
Yeah. I guess that it's
true or not true.
It is true. Okay,
Yes.
I'll leave that alone.
I can't.
Yeah, at least somebody had some belief in me. So. Oh man,
I love this part right here. So, anyways, as you use that driver and you would hit it past everybody, it was validation that 21-year-old technology. Jeremy Powell had the strength of an oak tree to go ahead and put it past everybody and
6
carry
foot,
it.
6'2", 220. Yeah, now I'm 5'8", like 240. So
Yeah, we did have a friend that used to say that the only reason Jeremy could hit it so far is because he was 6'2", 220. And
yeah, I've never been over 6 feet, and at the time I probably weighed 205. Like, wow.
You just told him that you're what? An athlete.
An athlete. That's it.
And so you also still play softball and stuff now?
Man, not much. No, I actually tried to play a couple of months ago, and another good friend of ours, Todd Morgan.
Yeah,
he was pretty disappointed in the product that he saw out there.
Yeah, he thought, man, this gray hair is really catching up over here.
He said, man, you need to go get some glasses. I'm like, what's wrong? He goes, well, I've seen you play before, and that is
ain't
terrible.
And that ain't it. And he thought the glasses were going to fix it.
Man, I hadn't played softball in so long. I didn't even know where my glove. I couldn't find my glove, So I was like, cut me some slack, Dad. Struck out the first time.
I struck out in
softball. It's terrible.
I went back and played softball at the place in Greenville one time. This is probably 5 or 6 years ago. Yeah, something like that. And I hadn't played. I mean, we used to play all the time, a lot, traveled and all that stuff, softball. Came out and did this thing, and they brought me onto the team for one day, and I laced one up the middle.
Mm-hmm.
I run over, the pitcher's mad at me. I winked at him, ran to first base, stand on first base. Umpire goes, "You're out." And I was like, "For what?" I was like, "You can't like wink at somebody or something?"
Yeah.
Well, he's like, "No, there's a new halo rule up there. You can't hit inside the halo." I was like, "What have we turned into?
Yeah.
What is happening? If you don't want to do it, put a face guard on or something." Like, what are we talking about? But it was like, there's a new halo. It changes all the time.
Yeah. My response, man, I'm just happy I made contact. All right, get off of me. Take a break.
Come on, man. Let me. You think I can name this thing?
Yeah, exactly. Good Lord.
But as as you go into your twilight years, you're 57 now.
59, yeah.
59. No, you're 49.
Yeah, fixed to be 49. Yep.
Oh man. So you can retire in a year.
I can.
You don't see that happening.
Probably not. No.
Yeah. You're a trooper,
man. Nah, there's we're doing a lot of things at the department. Department's growing, city's growing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a few things that we started I'd like to kind of see through, and I think that'll get me those 6 years that I want to get in.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying I won't retire before then, but it's looking that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I'll stay another 6. So
I like this. I was hoping that maybe you might, senior tour, when does that open up? 52?
Oh, it's 50, isn't it?
50?
Yeah, that's Phil.
Dude, just think about this. You could resurrect that promise that you once made to somebody by going pro.
Well, I don't know that I promised anybody that.
Well, I don't know about that either.
Yeah, but no, yeah. It's probably not going to happen. Maybe the senior barbecue circuit has that.
Let's do
it.
If you would just stop using technology that was older than I am, then maybe. By the way, Jeremy picked out a driver that somebody let him borrow the other day, and he was hitting it 40 yards past a bunch of single-digit handicappers. And,
I was using Condor golf balls.
We were not using Condor golf balls either. And I begged him to buy that driver, and he would not do it. And he went back and got an old driver out of the shed.
Another friend of mine, he knew that driver's broke, so he found one on, I don't know where he got it, eBay or wherever. Came home one day and there was one sitting inside my doorway. Like, yeah, baby, I'm
so
back.
The launcher's back.
I'm back.
That is awesome. Hey, you know what? If I'm going to go buy some equipment, let me go buy a 21-year-old driver.
Yeah, that's probably cost $5.
$6.
Cost more to ship it than it did to buy it.
It did. 100%. 100%. I had talked to you at one point in your life, and you talked about sailing.
Yeah.
Packing everything up and getting on a boat, selling everything you own.
Sounds amazing.
And just hopping out and going.
Yeah.
Talk to me.
Well, so that's probably not ever going to happen. Grandkids. But I think what potentially could happen is instead of just buying a boat and going off selling is maybe just chartering, doing some short charters.
That's cool.
Maybe a month charter. Go charter a boat for a month, and maybe do it a month at a time. Maybe not completely make it a lifestyle.
Right.
So I think that probably has a lot better chance of actually happening. But I love the idea of just being on the ocean and just being able to turn it off.
Yeah.
Because, I have my phone on me 24/7.
Right.
Every day.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing I wish I could change. I just wish I could turn it off.
Mm-hmm. So is it about getting away? Is that more of everything about it, or is it something about the sea itself?
I think a little bit of both. I mean, the beauty of blue water.
Mm-hmm.
The beauty of blue water is pretty awesome. You get out in the ocean and let clear water, and get on an island where nobody's at, and do some diving. I like to dive, and so I should enjoy that. And, it's a different pace than what we're used to.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to do it for extended periods of time instead of doing it for a week somewhere where you're rushing to get there and then you feel like you got to do all these things. I just can't imagine being in places like that and completely unplugging. And for 2 or 3 days, I may not do anything.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So
just sit.
Yep. But I could also see where I'd get tired of that too, potentially.
Yeah.
I've never really thought I wanted to sail around the world. You see some of those blogs out there where they
catamarans or whatever.
Yeah, they do the whole.
Mm-hmm.
That's never been something I thought I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking maybe just doing the Caribbean,
and
then coming back home during hurricane season, parking the boat. But I think with grandkids, and we've got more grandkids on the way, it's probably going to be more of something where we can go charter some stuff.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to go and I'm going to give your children some gift cards for these grandkids that keep popping out. Because I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm not joking about this, it made me sad to hear you say that you were going to pack up and leave and go away. Because I was like, this is my dude. Like, this guy is one of the best guys to be around. And so I was like, I'm cheering these grandkids on. I'm happy to see that you're going to hang around here a little longer.
Yeah. And like I said, it was never going to be something where that's all we did. It would be, especially during hurricane season, we would come back here and
pick on me.
Yeah.
Wear your boots and
that's right.
Hit your 21-year-old driver. And
sounds beautiful. And don't forget my irons. My irons
are they older?
No, they're about the same. You know what? My irons are older.
I was going to say.
Yeah, the irons are older.
They're from high school.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Yep. You're right. Nobody.
And they're blades too, right?
Yeah.
What an idiot. I mean, there's new technology.
Cleveland TA1s?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
just for the record, blades are not even a thing anymore unless you're on tour. I take it back. You're exactly where you need to be. You are exactly primed for the senior tour.
Yeah.
Man.
Not either. My ball striking is terrible.
One of these days, I'm going to say I knew that guy. When I see you on TV, it's going to be so sad.
Yeah, on the Most Wanted ads. Like that guy in New York. I knew that guy.
Oh, my
That's about the only place you're going to see that.
Talk about...
That's I'm on a billboard.
Yeah. You're on a billboard. I've seen you on a billboard.
Isn't that crazy?
It was really heartwarming.
It's like when they called him, like, are you kidding?
I was like, he's made it, guys. He's made it. And a matter of fact, we took photos and put it in our friend group and did a slow zoom on his face.
Tell me how proud they were of me. Something like that anyway.
Yeah. Talk about one of the other things that you and I have done together is Monster Ball.
Oh yeah.
I know that you and I were there from the beginning, and talk a little bit about, from your perspective, why we do that. And
Well, I don't know if you've talked about that. I don't remember you really. I'm about to say I don't think you've talked about it. I mean, I've looked at these and I don't remember that coming up really. So Monster Ball is a golf tournament that we do with a close group of friends, and even some friends we've picked up. It's not the original nucleus of people that all play golf together. It's expanded a little bit. But we had a friend that was part of our golf group, and man, I don't know how long all that lasted. It seemed like it was forever, but it really, in the scope of our adulthood, it really wasn't that long. It wasn't. But we did so much in that short amount of time that we were so close. And anyway, he passed away in a skiing accident, and his kids were real young, and we were still all pretty young then. And we got this golf tournament together for him in his memory, and had been raising money for charity ever since. We're in the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
500,000.
Yeah. And it's gone so far that beyond my imagination for sure. And everybody's so excited about it every year to come out there and play and get together in his memory. And it just shows you, what kind of person he was, what kind of personality he was. Just the light of the world when he was around.
He was the glue of our group for sure.
He was, and he was a good dude. And seems like it was yesterday, but it's been a few. So
it's 13 years now.
Yeah.
It's incredible to me that as we go and we continue to do this every year, the money that's raised for this, and 100% goes back to charity.
Yep.
But the money that's raised for this and putting it back to the city for the people that, like you and I both know, people call us every year and they're like, we didn't get in that, man, what's going on? And we fill up. This time we filled up before it was even open.
Yeah. This year was certainly a different circumstance for sure. But just to understand that, we could have probably 3 more golf courses, 3 more 18-hole golf courses, and that might be enough to get everybody in.
Yeah.
That might be enough.
Yep.
So it's an animal anymore.
From 108 teams to, just filling up in 5 minutes.
Yeah. And it's really about, it's every kind of golfer you could ever come across. It's from the really good golfers to the people who, they couldn't hit a broadside of a barn. And the camaraderie that comes with that is what, to me, is what keeps it going.
So much that spills out of that too is like what you said. Everyone that comes has a different experience. There's those of us that are there for a purpose.
That's right.
There's those that are there to win some money.
Yep.
There's those that are there because they remember him.
Yep.
And there's those that are there like, I'm no good, but I want to help chip in.
Yep.
And then there's the group that's just the family.
Yeah.
Watching this memory live with that family, I could never not have that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's it's one of those lifetime goals that you go through and you start find yourself. Sometimes you fall into things,
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, wow, I had no idea the impact of what I was doing meant to people. The charities that we've given this money to, I thought it was really cool because as a group and the one thing I do commend about our group is we can all disagree on something.
Yeah.
We put it to a 2-second vote and we never talk about it again. We put that to bed. Whatever the decision was is over and we move on. And I love that about it.
Well, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
One of the things that I see out of it is all the things we just talked about, but also our core group. I like to think it's Craig's way of keeping us together a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Because, when we all were doing our thing then, we were in different seasons of our life. And back then it was kind of a little bit more carefree and we just went out like fools all the time, play a lot of golf, drink some cold beer. And, but as we've gotten older, through the last, 13 years, man, you get more responsibility in life. And so we don't have those opportunities and we certainly don't make enough time to get together, that core group like we used to.
Yeah.
But there's that one time a year it's for certain we're going to get together.
Mhm.
And we're going to be together for about a month because that's, we start talking about it and we start having meetings on it. And then it comes and goes. And we may not see each other for another, 2 or 3 months or maybe a handful of times throughout the year.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like to think that's Craig's way of kind of keeping us together.
Yeah, we keep this chat group together that kind of binds us all. We're all in that probably 2-3 times a week.
Yeah.
It's mostly me putting stupid stuff in there. But
and if you think too, if you think about it that from that perspective, if we didn't have that, I don't know how much we'd see, you and me a little bit more probably. Or we wouldn't necessarily see each other more, but I think we'd stayed connected. But, I think for some of the others, it might not be the case.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I think
it's my 2 cents. Anyway.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think, life changes and everything else. And even some of the charities that we've been involved in with that, I thought a really cool thing that came out of that was these charities reached out to us we were trying to decide where to spend the money.
Yep.
Right. All the money that comes in. We all had these ideas or whatever. And then we kind of opened it up. And it was the really cool thing that we were all on the same page about was, I don't want something with a big letterhead on it. I don't want something that is a chain that needs donations.
For sure.
We want handwritten notes from places that need our money to keep the doors open, that are doing good things. We've dropped off checks and there's been tears.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like those are the types of things that it's really special to see a group of people come together and push those things out.
Yeah.
And being able to do that with my friends like you has been amazing.
Yeah.
To be quite honest.
No, I agree. I couldn't agree more.
But I can tell you right now, this is one of my favorite podcasts we've done. I know it's been a little less about marketing that at the end of the day, but hearing the perspective of someone like you talk about, your journey from getting kicked out of high school to becoming the chief firefighter.
I knew it was coming. There's no way that would happen.
Is pretty cool. And, to see you go from putting out fires to the day-to-day actions you do now, how does that vary from stepping into the political realm of things?
Mm-hmm. Well, man, that could be a whole nother subject. But I'll say this. I've learned that you have to play that game. And I say play that game. It's not a game, but you have to sometimes interject yourself in places I wouldn't interject myself and make sure that I talk to people who I probably wouldn't go out of my way to talk to. Establish relationships that I probably wouldn't go out of my way to establish. Don't mean that bad. That's really not the person that I am. Man, I have my core group and I'd just be just fine with my core group. It's just kind of, I don't need a lot of extra people. But with that said, on the political side, man, when you have we've got like basically a $10 million operating budget. It's a lot of money. We don't offer there's nothing coming in. We're just taking.
Right.
And so it's important that you build those relationships with city council, city staff, and the public when you're asking for a $2 million fire truck. That they just, the reaction is not, you're nuts. Because you get that. And I've seen that. But I think if you go out of your way to establish relationships and build that rapport, build that trust, I know that it makes a ton of difference. But I've forced myself to do that. That's just not kind of inherently the person that I am.
Yeah.
I see it in my kids. My kids are terrible at it. They're awful. And so guys, I get it. I get you. But you'll be a lot better off establishing relationships. Don't be a hermit.
Yeah.
So.
How was it taking the focus from the immediate day-to-day of the Brotherhood itself to the tone of how you put a fire out to how do I keep this machine running and who do I talk to do that? How did you switch gears so easily with that as chief firefighter?
As chief firefighter, that's a good one. So really, that whole process started when I made deputy chief because you really, you're exposed to it. It wasn't when I just made fire chief.
Yeah.
It was that step below when you start seeing the importance. And I really didn't know. it's kind of, kind of what we talked about earlier, trial by fire.
Mm-hmm.
You just you start seeing things. Hey, I probably should be proactive here. And I saw it a lot of times when a new council comes in, and a lot of times they come in with agenda, and they'll come in with preconceived notions of
things to cut and things to boost.
Oh yeah. And, hey, this is pork belly stuff. We'll get rid of that.
Mm-hmm.
And the quicker you establish relationships with them, and the quicker you make them comfortable with what you're doing, make them understand. Not make them comfortable, make them understand. Because if you say you make them comfortable, you may be trying to. It kind of sounds like you're trying to pull wool over their eyes, but I'm not. I want them to understand exactly what we do, why we do it, and why we're asking for this. And the quicker you do that, the easier it's going to be on you and your staff.
I always say, let people see the heart in what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're asking for, a $10 million operating budget every year, and that's a lot of work sometimes to get people to understand the value of that and why it's important. So, but I'll say this, I've been fire chief now for about 10 years, and just an amazing council, amazing city manager, and also the citizens of Greenville have just been so supportive. Which, also, I've always felt like we had the support of the citizens, but, the relationships with council haven't always been that good. But the last 10 years have been pretty amazing. And I just couldn't imagine being anywhere better. And I say that, and the police chief, he came from Dallas County Sheriff's Office, and he's been here about 2 years now. And I talked to him, and he says the same thing. He goes, man, it's night and day compared to the atmosphere that we had and the atmosphere here.
Is that the community really looks down upon other cities and their service people?
Do I know?
The community is actually looking down upon the other cities. I mean, they're looking on their community service people. They're looking down on them.
I don't know if it's the community's looking down. It's just the relationships aren't as good. Yeah, there's going to be examples of that where people in the community don't appreciate what you do and don't think there's a need for it. Hey, listen. Welcome to America. Everybody should have their own thoughts about it, but I just go back to those relationships. And when we interview people now, especially leadership staff coming in for the city, I'm like, man, we're on an island. And two things: we got to lean on each other. We have to have good relationship with each other inside the city, and then, man, we're here to serve the public. We're here to pretty much, if somebody asks, hey, can you help me out? We're going to do it. There are exceptions. I'm not going to paint your house, but but we might, if there's a crazy circumstance where somebody's really down and out, and like a few years ago, we partnered with one of the local charities, and they provided the air conditioners, and we went and put them in the windows. So stuff like that. Happy to do it.
Yeah.
So whatever year that was just crazy hot, and that's probably 3 years ago. So it's stuff like that that goes a long ways. When you're wanting that $2 million fire truck, that goes a long ways. Little pieces at a time.
Yeah.
But you can't lose sight of why you're doing it, and you are there to serve the public.
Well, I can tell you this from a 5-generation Greenvilleite. Speaking to Greenville out there, you have the man for the job in that seat. That dude would do anything for you. He stands up for his guys 100% of the time. He will not let anybody down. Good old boy mentality. He's the best. And I promise you, you will find no one better.
Well, I've let plenty of people down many times, but at the end of the day, I try to make it right. So, city's been good to me, and I try to be good back. Not perfect by any means, but
well, you got my vote, homie.
I'm certainly happy where I'm at.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you this. Thank you so much for coming on here. I really appreciate you being here.
Enjoyed it, man.
Again, one of my favorite people in this planet, and I'm not even jacking around there. Like,
I appreciate it.
Super, super happy to have you. Call you my friend, and I love seeing you succeed, man. And you are one dumb, and I love having you around.
There's a lot of people bad judge of character that I've walked right past, and they just smile and good job. I'm like, I don't know. I do love what I do, and I do love helping people. You kind of said it earlier. You see people are at their worst, and I love when we show up trying to just that's their worst day, but we make it just a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Well, I believe that, honestly. Well, to my good friend, again, this is Jeremy Powell, Fire Chief, signing off from the Blueprint. Until next time.
Appreciate you.
Deuces.